Okay guys, welcome back. This is now part 2 of our Batmobile build, and I've moved on to this and this step here. Just bear in mind when you're working with these pieces, they are a little tricky to get in. Just take your time. They will eventually slide in. And you can see this is what it's looking like so far. I've got a little bit of some surface defects here that I need to repaint. I'm going to give this some time to dry before I do that. And I'm also working on the tires. The tires do come nice and clean, but you do want to make them look a little worn. And in order to do that, I'm using 800 grit sandpaper that I'm rubbing on the surface here. And then I also want to try this technique that I saw that gentleman from Facebook use to dirty them up, so we're going to go ahead and proceed on with that now. Okay guys, I'm continuing to work on the tires. As you can see, this is a picture of the studio model, and you can also see that the tires are worn and have dirt and grime on them. So I'm trying to duplicate that, and I'm going about that by, as I mentioned earlier, first of all taking some sandpaper and roughing up the surface, but then applying some of this, it's called a Master Series paint. I'm not too familiar with this brand here, but I found this at a gaming store, and these are paints that are used to paint figures for board games. Pretty light consistency, so I'm just applying some on the surface here with a brush, and then drying it off with a cloth, and then reapplying it, and just getting it to the level that I'm looking for, and just slowly building it up. So you can see the difference here already. And I'm going to go ahead and proceed now with the other tires and finish them this way as well. Okay guys, we're now moving on to the next section, and that's working with the fenders and the front wheels here, and it does not look too promising here with regard to lighting these running lights here. These are those yellow lights that are in the front of the Batmobile. The fenders pieced together in 3 pieces. There's this one, and this one here. When they piece together, they're all glued in this section and up here. Problem is you'd have to drill through all of that and cut through all of that in order to mount a light. I'm just not encouraged to do that, but I'm going to take a closer look at it and see if that's possible, but it just doesn't look too promising there. In the meantime, I am working with the wheels here. I've been working with the disc brakes and adding one other detail, and that's a brake line. So I just took a pin vise and drilled a hole that would accommodate this wire here, and you can see it's mounted on this side, and that's just one extra detail you can pick up on if you're looking at the model closely. I'm working on the wheel assemblies. I've already have the front wheels installed. I'm working on the rear wheels now, and just taking my time to glue the fenders on, make sure we don't end up with any smudges of glue. But I'm also happy with the way the detailing worked out with the tires there. So that's looking pretty good. Okay guys, I'm continuing to work on the interior here, and first thing I want to let you know is I found these brushes at the Dollar Tree. So if you have a 99-cent store or a Dollar Tree, you might want to look around and see if they've got something like this, because really for $1 you can get 20 brushes like this, and they're pretty disposable, so they're great for dry brushing. So dry brushing is a technique where you just dip your brush in some paint, you really wipe most of it off on a cloth, and you just glide over or brush over the surface here to create this worn pattern. So using a reference picture here, and I've got some other ones here, but you can see the effect here, and it creates a nice worn look. And the other thing that I'm working on are the seats. You can see the seats here. This is a picture of the actual studio car, and you can see it has this orange trim here. And so I actually had something called Canyon Orange. It's just a craft paint that I used for a Martian diorama way back, and it turns out it's a very close approximation of that. So yeah, just kind of moving along here and just adding a little more detail. These canisters are aluminum, and I'm going to add some red here and then dry brush a little bit over the red. And yeah, that's coming along just fine. Okay guys, and here we have the completed interior. So the back piece that I constructed is in place along with the roll bar. We've got the shift knob as well as the steering wheel and a dashboard. So we're going to go ahead and set this aside now, and we're going to continue to work on the main body. Okay guys, well last night I watched the movie again, the Dawn of Justice movie, and you know, the Batmobile looks so cool lit with those headlights that I was just really trying to think of a way to wire this up, so I'm going to give this a shot. So let me just show you what I'm doing. The chip lights are the chip size SMDs that I've used now for the dashboard. And if you look back at some other videos, I recently lit a small flying sub. The wires are very small, and I was just thinking that you could take a pin vise with a small drill like this, a drill bit, and that would be large enough to feed the wires through. So I'm attempting now to feed the wire through. We're going to feed it through here and then down here. And then the other thing I've done was I've made, you can see here, some cutouts with clear styrene plastic that I've hazed over with sandpaper, the same size as the running lights. So the plan is to feed this through, glue the chip light into that slot there, and then glue on top of that these clear pieces. So worst comes to worst, if it doesn't look right lit, at least I'll have clear pieces over that versus just a blank piece of plastic like it comes there. It's too bad they didn't include a clear piece to fit over that. But if it works right, we'll have some lights here, at least with the running lights. And this is what they're looking like here. Alright guys, I'm assembling now the guns as well as this wing section that goes the front tip of the Batmobile. These are the guns here. And as you can see, if you look closely here, I am dry brushing as I go along. I figured now would be an opportune time to do that because we can get into the smallest areas. And so this represents here the bottom section. That's these three pieces here, and then of course we have the top two pieces there, and these are going to go together. You can see again I'm painting these rings here as well as dry brushing and making it look a little bit worn. Alright, so I'm in the process of putting together the rear braces, and this is one part I've been told is a little challenging. One thing I found helpful is to have one of these things I call a third hand, because you can brace the parts here while you're working with your hands to put it all together. The other thing I've been finding useful, again here, I think I pointed out this earlier, is this Tamiya extra thin cement. It actually comes with a little applicator. It's kind of like a little tiny brush here at the end, and allows you to provide a way to apply cement onto your plastic pieces without overdoing it. So definitely get yourself a hold of some of this. I wish I'd, you know, it's something I've seen on the shelf for a long time, and I saw someone on a video using it, so I decided just to get myself a bottle, and gosh, I wish I had had this around a lot sooner. It would have been helpful for other projects. So anyway, consider getting some of that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and let this dry. There's a couple other pieces we need to put on here. What's next now is to slide in the interior cabin, and as we do that, we now have to trim these wires so that we can solder everything together. So one thing I did want to show you is how to strip away the paint that's on these wires that's used as an insulator, because these are very, very thin wires. They don't have the typical insulation. And I got in touch with modeltrainsoftware.com. That's who I got these SMD lights from, and they showed me or told me about a technique that I can use to do that. So I wanted to show you that here before we finally put everything together. Alright, so the way to do this is you want to actually heat up the wire, and then you just take some fine sandpaper and you just sand the coating off. So what you want again is just bare wire this way so you can solder it together, obviously. So I'm just going to heat it up like this and just get it warm, and then you'll see once you do that you're able to just sandpaper rub the coating off, leaving the bare wire. I'm not sure you can see that from this angle, but the coating completely came off. Alright, so that's what we have to do to our wires here, so I'll go ahead and proceed with that now. Alright guys, well I wanted to take a minute just to go over a couple things with you here as we move into final assembly. So these parts here, just follow along the instructions. You have to go in sequence as it shows you here. At first I did install the braces without thinking about it, went back to the instructions. Luckily I was able to remove them. So what you have to do is to install this piece here first. And this slides on. Now as you do this, and you're about to slide this in, this front part has to tuck into here. So as you're putting that down, you're tucking this in, and then at the same time you're going to be installing this piece as well. So it's a little bit of a challenge to coordinate all that, but it will go in. Just take your time to do that. You'll be applying cement here and here, here and here, and here and here as well. So this is what it looks like. So you're going to have to apply pressure here and here to make sure that goes down nice and flat. But the one place that there is a gap is this back wing section here. So I had to use plastic glue here to fill in that gap. It's drying right now. We're going to have to repaint that. And you can see there's some smudges there, but that's okay. We're going to repaint all over that as well. And then the other thing that I didn't realize was that there's a gap here. And so that has to be filled in. So what I did was I took some paper and traced a pattern. And then out of cardstock, I created a piece here to test it out, and this actually will slide into place here. We'll apply some cement along here, and so what I got to do now is cut a duplicate out of styrene plastic, and then that's what we're going to use. And then that piece will be painted flat black. Okay, so this is a picture I got off the internet. This is the die-cast model that's coming out. And so they do show a detailed view of what's in front of the dashboard there. So as I said, this was not going to be screen accurate, but it's better than just having that hole there, and this is what I've designed here out of styrene plastic. So I just used this as a guide, come up with something similar anyway. Like I said, it's not going to be exact, and I decided to put this screen here inside that space. So that's how it's looking. The other thing I added were these silver rings here, and actually all that is just pinstriping tape, which, you know, it's actually been helpful to have pinstriping tape in my drawer here. I used it for an X-Wing helmet and a couple other things, and so I just happen to have a strip of silver pinstriping. I just cut it with an X-Acto knife to make smaller stripes, and they hold pretty well. The adhesive's fairly strong with those pinstripe tapes, and yeah, actually I'm very pleased with the way it's looking there. So I made one ring skinnier than the rest of them, trying to follow along with my reference images there. Okay, so we are definitely into the home stretch here. What I have to do again is finish up with adding the back wings there. I did touch up this whole area here, so I was able to color in the plastic putty that I used to fill in the gap. And so we're going to add the wings and do a bit more dry brushing throughout the exterior. I'm going to take a look at some more reference pictures and go from there. Alright everybody, I'm going to ask you to bear with me here as I finish this video. It's getting a little long, so I'm going to stop it here. We'll pick up then in part 3, where we'll complete the construction of our Batmobile, and also we'll go through the construction of a display base for it. Alright, so if you have any questions, feel free to contact me here on my YouTube channel or at industrialmother@gmail.com. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.